Oh, hi guys. Welcome back to our next episode of Science at Home. So today we're going to be doing the second in our two-part series on nature. So last week we looked at trees. Yeah, we've got a good look into trees, and this week we're going to look at a thing called biodiversity. So what is biodiversity? Well, it's just a measurement of how many different types of plants and animals you can find in a particular area. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a few different locations. We're going to go to some places that maybe humans have had a lot of an impact on, and areas that nature has had a lot of an impact on. And we're going to take a look at how the biodiversity changes in each of those locations. So let's go learn a few more things and go to our first of our locations. So we're on a peat bog. Now there's loads of these peat bogs everywhere in the Midlands and Ireland. And what are they? Well, basically all the soil you see all around me here, it's peat. And that's just a form of carbon that was taken out of the air. So all the plants that used to live here, they took carbon out of the air and they stored it in the soil. You can find it all around the bog. And there's loads of it. So you can see that this is a vast expanse of peat here in this bog. And there's hundreds of bogs like these all around the Midlands. So what you see isn't the natural state it would be in, this is the man-made state. So we've drained these bogs and we've taken the soil from them to use for fuel and other uses. But it doesn't have a very good effect on the biodiversity. Let's have a look around and see, can we find any plants, any animals, any trees, any flowers? I don't see very much. It's basically a desert. All we have is bare soil all around. For acres and acres, just bare soil. So the biodiversity in this area is really, really low. Let's go and have a look at a part of the bog that hasn't been touched by humans and see what the biodiversity is like there. So this is what the bog looks like when people haven't been interfering with it. We see a lot more biodiversity. We see trees and shrubs around. We see some bog cotton. Yeah, it's a type of cotton type substance that grows on the bog. We also see some moss growing here. Yeah, we have some heather growing here as well. And what you might notice is there's not a whole amount of colour at the moment. Well, it's only April. The bog is really going to come into life over the next few months. So if you get a chance to go and see a bog over the next few months, you absolutely should try and walk around, and you'll see all the animals and the plants and the colour that starts to come to life. But the big thing to realise is we have a lot more biodiversity here when we don't interfere with it. So let's go on to our next location. So now we're going to look at another area of biodiversity. Forests. It seems pretty straightforward, right? Plant loads of trees and the nature will arrive. The birds will come, the plants and the flowers will come. Well, it's not as straightforward as that. There's all sorts of different types of forests that are planted here in Ireland. And unfortunately, most of the forests aren't native Irish forests at all. They were never designed to be here, and they don't really work very well for biodiversity. So let's go take a look and see what one of those forests actually looks like. So this is what most of the forests in Ireland actually look like. They're really dark, no light can get down through from the top. And look, the branches are all dead on the bottom. And look, there's no biodiversity at all. We see no flowers, we see no plants. There's nothing for animals to eat. The biodiversity is really bad. So why do these forests exist? Well, these forests are planted for their timber. Yeah, these trees aren't native to here, but they grow straight and tall for timber. So they're good for that, but for biodiversity, they're really bad. So what we should try to do is have more native Irish forests. So what do they look like? Well, let's go have a look at a native Irish forest. This is more like it. This is a native Irish forest. Notice all the light that can get down through the trees so that all these little plants can grow, little bluebells, everything growing all around us. We also see new growth coming up here, all these new little bits of trees growing up for when the other trees die back. We can hear the birds singing. Some nice bird song there. And we can also see that there's far more biodiversity here. So you can see the difference in the two types of forests. Just because it's a forest doesn't make it the right kind of forest. If you want to have more biodiversity, you need to have a native Irish forest. Let's go and take a look at another location. So sometimes people think that green equals biodiversity. Well, that's not really the case. We have a lovely, well-manicured green lawn here, but there's no biodiversity. It's all just grass. There's no space for flowers to come up. It's all trimmed too much. And we know how important flowers are for our bees and our pollinators, you know. So what you can do is you can always have a space of lawn that's nice to play on and to play football and whatnot, but you always should try and leave some spaces for the birds, for the bees, for the different creatures, just for that little bit of biodiversity, that little bit of colour. Let's go have a look at another location. And the last location we're going to look at for our biodiversity comparison is roads. Roads don't seem to support much biodiversity. It's gravel and tar. But an important thing about the roads, particularly in Ireland, are the hedgerows. In the countryside, it's so common to see big hedgerows all along the roads. We can see here, we have whitethorn. It's just been in bloom with these lovely white blossoms. We have brambles, we have ash trees, we have sycamore, all growing here along the side of the road. And we have grass that's going to grow up and long, and all of those lovely flowers will grow up through it as the summer goes ahead. We have different animals that can live in the hedgerows. You can have your hedgehogs, your birds, all living there. And it's all along the roadsides. So lots of other countries have kind of gotten to the stage where they've gotten rid of all the hedgerows all along. But luckily in Ireland we still have them. Because we don't have so many forests, it's really important we hold on to our hedgerows. So try to value your hedgerows when you go for a walk along the road. Try to keep an eye on them, see what you can see in them. And remember, they're a great place for biodiversity, right at the side of the road. Well, that was a lovely day, huh? Exploring all the different types of biodiversity all around the area. So what did we learn? Well, we can see that typically when humans get involved, the biodiversity goes down. But we still need to live our lives. We still need energy, we still need roads, we still need electricity. So it's unrealistic to really think that we would have no negative effects on biodiversity. What's important is to kind of try and weigh up the options and use a kind of a scientific perspective to think, well, what is necessary and what is not necessary? Or what can we do to maybe decrease our impact on the biodiversity in these sort of areas? So what I'd ask you to do is just when you're walking around your day-to-day life, seeing what's around you, see what you could do in your own little way to increase biodiversity all around you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one.